Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. So glad you can join me today. For the duration of this Lenten season, we will focus on God's great miracle. Don't miss it and don't dismiss it. You are the God who works wonders. You have made known your might among the peoples. Everything happens in God's time and in His season. Let's focus on the message for today. During those days, a crowd of people gathered to hear Jesus. Those in attendance were fed spiritually, but still had physical needs. Jesus knew this. He said, "My heart goes out to this crowd. They've already been here with me for 3 days with nothing to eat. I'm concerned that if I send the people home hungry, they'll be exhausted along the way, for some of them have come a long, long way just to be with me." After the miracle of feeding the people with bread and fish, Jesus and his friends got into a boat and sailed to the vicinity of Dalmanuta, located on the western edge of the Lake of Galilee. As soon as Jesus landed, he was confronted by those in authority, demanding a miraculous sign from heaven. Questions arose. Was he the promised Messiah? Did God send him to the earth for a time such as this? What do you think? Let's continue. And with a deep sigh from his spirit, remember, we don't grieve or distress the Spirit, Jesus said, "What drives this generation to clamor for a sign?" Many who encountered Jesus during his ministry had an opportunity to receive all he had to offer. Jesus said, "Listen to the truth. There will be absolutely no sign given to this generation." They declined his invitation and Jesus left that area. Do we believe in God's promises, his miracles today? One has to believe in order to receive. There's still more to discover, so let's keep going. As they were sailing across the lake, Jesus repeatedly warned his friends, "Be on your guard against the yeast inside of the Pharisees and the yeast inside of Herod." The disciples had no clue what Jesus was talking about, so they began discussing it among themselves, saying, "Is he saying this because we forgot to bring bread?" Knowing what they were thinking, Jesus said to them, "Why all this fussing over forgetting to bring bread? Do you still not see or understand what I say to you? Are your hearts still hard? You have good eyes, yet you still don't see, and you have good ears, yet you still don't hear, neither do you remember. When I multiplied the bread to feed more than 5,000 people, how many baskets full of leftovers did you gather afterward? 12, they replied. And when I multiplied food to feed over 4,000, how many large baskets full of leftovers did you gather afterwards? 7, they replied. Then how is it that you still don't get it? Jesus was perturbed at how quickly the disciples' faith in him wavered, and witnessing what the Father sent Jesus to do left their hearts and spirits. The disciples thought they needed more bread. It wasn't about the physical bread. The bread of heaven was with them, and they knew him not. They totally didn't get it. If we go back a bit when Jesus was referring to the yeast inside others, seen as a sign of darkness within, those questioning Jesus were in fact injecting doubt and confusion among the people. And to top it off, the Pharisees wanted a sign from heaven, and yet heaven was standing among them, but they saw him not. Jesus was impressing upon those around him to watch for what is hidden. None can see its process. Think about when you're baking bread and you use yeast. You put it into the mix, but you can't see the yeast. You can't see what it's doing, but it's there. So we have to be on guard at all times to watch for what dwells deep within. But the good news is all was not lost, because the large crowds who waited for Jesus believed, and he fed them spiritually and physically. Miracles abounded in that experience. And we too can be fed spiritually and physically if we believe. We have to be on guard. We have to watch out for negative stuff, and don't let it consume your heart or your spirit. We don't want to miss God's great miracle or dismiss it. Until we connect again, God bless you. The scripture references for today's message are taken from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 8, the Passion Translation, and Psalm 77. If you like this podcast, subscribe to Reverend Patty's Inspiration Station channel on YouTube. Or if you want to receive God's messages of love and healing, subscribe to my blog, Reverend Patty's Inspiration Station. And for more information, visit sacredwalkhome.com.